So good morning everyone. So for today's video, we will tackle about the 1973 constitutional authoritarianism. So authoritarianism, it is a form of government in which the rules demand unquestioning obedience from the rule. Sa madaling salita, ito ay ang pinuno na kung saan siya ay namuno sa mamamayan. Na kung saan siya ang nagbibigay ng batas para ito ay maging guide or sundin ng kanyang mamamayan. So, in short, constitutional authoritarianism, it is the Marcos Constitution. So, in 1965, Ferdinand E. Marcos was elected president. In that year, Marcos as a president, he is elected as a president. So, in 1967, Philippines passed a resolution calling for a constitutional convention to change the 1935 Constitution. So, 1965, the Congress of the Philippines, so, nagpasa ng resolusyon na kung saan ito ay nagngangalang Constitutional Convention para palitan ang 1935 Constitution, na kung saan ang 1935 Constitution ang namuno ay ang mga Amerikano. So, Marcos won the re-election in 1969 because some people say that Marcos won because they use the government funds or pundo ng gobyerno. And then, makalipas ang gamit ng pondo, the government funds, ang mga ito ay karaniwang panuntunan ng pagpigil ng sarili. Hindi pa gamit ng kapangyarihan ng buo, karaniwang umunlad ng mula sa itinatag na kasanayan ng konstitusyon. Ang halalan ng miyembro ng Constitutional Convention ay naganap noong November 20, 1970. Now, the convention began formally on June 1, 1971 na ang inihalal na presidente ay si Carlos P. Garcia, but unfortunately hindi siya nagtagal dahil siya ay namatay at ang pinalit sa kanya bilang former president of the Constitutional Convention ay si Diosdado Macapagal. So on September 21, 1972, the martial law was declared. So the reason behind the martial law was the growing of the communist threat. Ang communist threat ay ang mga hindi sang-ayon sa law ng gobyerno. So, November 29, 1972, the convention approved its proposed constitution. In that year, naaprubahan ang constitution convention na pinasa noong 1967. So, parliamentary government or parliamentary determines the composition of the executive branch. Parliamentary government, it is a kind of government na ang prime minister at ang president ay ito rin itong dalawang ito sa araw ng parliamentary government pa natin ay sila ang dalawang bumuo ng mga batas. Sila lamang dalawa, pero ngayon ay marami ng mga tao na bumubuo ng batas na ito ay dito na belong ay sila ang mga senator. But noong parliamentary government sa araw ni Marcos ay sila lamang dalawa ang dapat na gumawa ng batas para sa mamamayan. So, President elected as a symbolic and ceremonial head of state who will serve for 6 years and could be re-elected to an unlimited number of terms. Now, Prime Minister, it is a executive power, and also it is a Prime Minister, also the Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces. So, Presidential Decree number 73. Setting the date of the plebiscite to ratify or reject the proposed constitution on November 30, 1973. When we say plebiscite, it is the voting by the hand of all people. That all people decide if they approve or to reject the proposed of Constitution on November 30, 1973. So this plebiscite, it was postponed later on since Marcos feared that the public might vote to reject the Constitution instead of plebiscite. So Marcos then postponed the plebiscite because they feared, natakot siya na baka ma-reject ang kanyang proposed constitution. So, citizen assemblies were held from January 10 to 15, 1973, or the voting by a hand. So citizens assembly were held from 10 to 15 January 1973, where the citizens coming together and voting by the hand that decided on whether to continue to ratify the Constitution, suspend the convening of the interim National Assembly, continue the martial law, then place moratorium on election for period of at least several years. So in this four can be the decided that what are the plebiscite of some people nga o ano ba talaga ang kanilang i-continue na para sa kanilang bayan. So, January 17, 1973 issued a proclamation wherein the Constitution had been ratified by the overwhelming vote of the members of the highly irregular Citizens Assembly. So, in January 1793, naaprubahan ng mga tao ang Constitution at ito ay binoto nila para ito ay mapanatili at sa kanila. So, 1976, Citizen Assembly decided to allow the continuation of the martial law in the following amendments. So, 1976, na-decide ng mga tao na i-continue ang pagkaroon ng martial law sa sumusunod na pagbabago. So, first we have the interim batasang pambansa or the substitute for interim National Assembly. Next, we have the President to become the Prime Minister. The martial law was lifted for emergency basis. So, if ever they undergo martial law, if have a reason or the emergency basis only. So, 1980, retirement age of members of the judiciary was extended to 70 years. And next, we have the 1981 parliamentary to French-style executive power to the President, Executive Committee will be created. So, 1981, the parliamentary system was formally modified to a French-style executive power to a President. So, where the executive power was restored to the President who was to be the created President or who was to be the elected President, an executive committee will be created and the Prime Minister and 14 others and serve as the President Cabinet or Kabinete. So, some electoral reform was instituted. So, 1984, the Executive Committee was abolished and the position of the Vice President was restored. So, in 1984, ang Executive Committee ay nabura. At ang kapalit nito ay ang posisyon ng mga Vice President ay nabalik na rin. So, 1973, way for the President to keep executive power abolished, the Senate never acted as a parliamentary system but an authoritarian president system. So, 1973, so, na ang lahat ng tunay na kapangyarihan they focus the President at they support also the Constitution. So, 1980 had been very turbulent as Marcos amassed power discontent has also been burgeoning. So, in 1980, turbulent means conflict. Marcos amassed power or umusbong din ang kawalang kasiyahan ni Marcos. So, bakit kaya si Marcos ay nakawalang kasiyahan na? It because in August 1983, Benigno Aquino was come back. And in that day, Benigno Aquino was assassinated. So after the assassination of Benigno Aquino Jr., so there was a suspicious that the orders to assassinate Aquino came from the top levels of the government and the military. And this event caused the opposition against the Marcos Authoritarianism regime. So Marcos was then forced to hold an early election and declared himself a winner. And despite international condemnation and nationwide protests. So a small group of military rebels attempted to stage a coup but failed. However, this triggered what came to be known as EDSA or People Powers Revolution of 1986. So that gathering millions of people from all walks of life, the end of the dictatorship of Ferdinand E. Marcos, and begin a new era marked by true freedom and democracy. While the family Marcos fled to the United States, his opponent in the election, Benigno Aquino Jr.'s widow, named Corazon Aquino, was installed as president on February 25, 1986. 1986. So that's all for today's video. So I hope that you learn some about my discussion about the Constitution Authoritarianism. So I am Annabelle Igot from BPED 2B. Thank you for listening and God bless everyone.